very soon. Thank you. So we're going to be together for the next hour and a half or so. We may finish a little bit early if we get through everything. And this is going to be an interactive session where you'll have chance to ask us questions. We will have some breakout rooms. You'll be hearing a bit from us. But we really want to hear from you as well. We're going to be using Mentimeter, which I'm sure that a number of you know how to use and you are familiar with. If you can't use Mentimeter, then you can put questions on the Zoom. But Natalie, my colleague, will be talking you through how to access Mentimeter in just a little while. So we do hope that by the end of the session, you'll have a feel for the type of relationship that we want to develop together. We're very clear that we want our funded organisations to feel that they are appreciated and as important as Citybridge Foundation. And so we're always really interested to listen to you and to hear what your needs are. And we're hoping that we'll set that kind of really important atmosphere today while we're together. If I could ask you please to turn off your cameras, as we do have, as you can see, a British Sign Language interpreter with us. So welcome to her. Some of you will be new to Citybridge Foundation. Some of you will have had funding from us previously, but we hope that that this will be a really helpful session in any case. Okay, I'm going to move on now to the agenda, and Natalie Heath, my colleague, is going to talk you through what to expect today.
Thank you. Sorry, Ruth, my mute wasn't working. Thank you, everybody, for joining. So the agenda today, as Ruth has...
Are you there, Natalie?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me now?
Okay, it may be that Natalie is having a couple of technical issues. We will be kicking off with just a little bit of housekeeping, which we've done now, and then we'll be talking a little bit about us. We'll then hand over to Abby Summers and Hanan Ali, who are two of our brilliant funding managers, and they'll talk you through the grant management process. And then it's over to you. We've got 10 minutes for some breakout rooms, a little bit of discussion so that you can meet your peers, discuss some of the issues that you're having on your project, what you're excited about, and what you're looking forward to. We'll have a quick break at around about 10:45 for you to stretch your legs, and then we'll move on to non-funding support. So James Lee and Ian Tokelove will be talking about all of the additional support that we can provide you outside of the grants. We'll then have some time for questions and answers, and then we will be closing at around about 11:30. So Natalie, are you there now?
Yes, can you hear me? Can someone just give me a thumbs up or shout out?
We can hear you.
Hear you fine.
Sorry, thank you. So if everybody could get their phones or another tab. Sorry, I'm trying to change. There we go. We will be using Menti today. So if you have your phones with you, or if you open another tab and go on to menti.com, please. And there is the code there to sort of enter our Menti room. We will be using this throughout. So please take a few moments to sign on to that now. At the bottom, there is a person, so I should be able to see how many of you have got onto there. Ooh. Lovely, I can see one. Just wait for a few more people to join onto there. Lovely, I can see the numbers coming up. Fantastic. So the first question that we are asking you is, how knowledgeable do you feel about how we at Citybridge Foundation will work with you? So currently, how knowledgeable do you feel? And if you slide from not at all knowledgeable to extremely knowledgeable. Next question is, how knowledgeable do you feel about our expectations around managing your grant and what we offer in non-funding support? And while you're on Menti, if you scroll down to the bottom, if you're on your phone, if you scroll down to the bottom, or if you're on a tab, you might be able to see it anyway, there should be a Q&A box, and it says go to Q&A. And if you have any questions throughout the session, please click on that box and type in your question, and it will save it onto our question and answer slide. That box is available on every single slide of this presentation. So whenever you think of a question, just scroll to the bottom of your Menti and you should be able to write your question there. Let me know if you have any problems. If it's not working, you can put the question into the chat, and hopefully Emma will be able to keep an eye on those. Okay, I can see that we're not hugely knowledgeable yet about how we will work with you and our expectations and our non-funding support. So hopefully by the end of this session, you will be feeling a lot more knowledgeable. We're going to go on to the next question now, which is, what type of support are you hoping to receive from us at City Bridge Foundation? If you'd like to share your thoughts on this, it can be very general support that you're hoping for or more specific. We want to hear any of your responses, and hopefully we can support with that. Thank you. So we've got unrestricted funding, non-restricted engaged. Lovely. Regular communication with grant managers, network and funding. I can see lots here about continued funding, networking, other organizations. Yeah, fantastic. I'm sure by the end of this session, hopefully lots of those will be answered. Clear communication, yeah. Fantastic. Please continue to put these responses in. We are going to move on, but you can still access that question. So who are we is the key question. As Ruth mentioned before, we were previously known as City Bridge Trust, but we have rebranded as City Bridge Foundation, and we are a world-class bridge owner responsible for 5 of London's bridges: Tower Bridge, London Bridge, Blackfriars, Millennium and Southwark Bridge. And we are London's biggest independent charity funder. We award funding of over £30 million a year to charities across London and have made available an additional £200 million over the next 5 years to 2026 to support the capital's charity sector. We have awarded more than 14,100 grants, totaling around £760 million since we began funding in 1995. We support over 500 organisations at a time. So as you can see, we are a very large funder. Moving on to Ruth with our EDI statement.
Yes, thank you, Natalie. Sorry, I was having a few problems with my sound earlier. So we are committed to making City Bridge Foundation a truly inclusive, and not just inclusive, but anti-racist organisation. And we do have a real focus on anti-racism, equity, diversity and inclusion. We do have a strategy around this. And so in the 3 years to this year, 2023, we awarded 21.1 million to projects specifically aimed at supporting Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities, and 3.1 million for projects aimed at LGBTQ+ communities. And you can find out more about that at the link below. It's a real focus for us. How we work as a funder this is how we are all informed every day. And so really we're looking to be as supportive and facilitative as possible. evidence is really important to us, and we don't want to gather evidence for the sake of it. We want to gather evidence so that we can really use that in our decision making, and to be continuously learning. And that's what the Impact and Learning team and all at Citybridge Foundation are aiming to do every day. We want to keep getting better. We know that the experts are all here with us in the room, and we're really interested in hearing what you have got to tell us about the needs of London. If someone could just move that slide on, thank you. So we should be on how we work as a funder now, thank you. So we're really interested as well in being as equitable as possible so that we can balance that inherent power dynamic that we all know exists between a funder and funded organisations. And to some extent, it will always be there, but we really want to kind of bring that out into the light, and balance that as much as possible. We don't see ourselves as the expert. We see ourselves as a number of, one of a number of experts, along with all of the other organisations that are working in London. And so we really want to have that open dialogue between us all. We're very aware of the historic underfunding of marginalised groups, and that's something that we're aiming to address all of the time. We also contribute to the DEI data standard, which is an approach that really looks at understanding the data that we're capturing from a DEI perspective. Because if we don't know who we're not funding, then we can't fund them better. So in practical terms, we provide non-funding support, and James Lee, my colleague, will be talking about that in a little while. We really aim to reduce the amount of reporting that's required by funded organisations. We know how difficult it is at the moment working for a charity in London. We know that people are very overworked, that there's a huge amount of demand right now, always has been, but it's been getting worse and worse over the past few years. And so we want to reduce that burden as much as we possibly can. So we're always looking to reduce the amount of reporting that we ask for from you. There's certain things that we have to ask for, but our approach is that we only ask for things that we use, or that are going to be helpful for us and for you as well. And we provide lots of opportunities for you to give us feedback so that we can learn from it and keep improving. Back to Natalie.
Thank you. And so as Ruth mentioned, we only collect data and carry out research. Sorry, we only collect relevant data, and we carry out our research to ensure that our funding is impactful, responsive to the changing needs of London, and up to date with the best approaches for tackling London's needs. We use the data to make sure that we are making evidence-based decisions that support the communities that we serve. And we share what we learn to raise awareness of good practices within the sector, and we support organisations with their evidence and data, and we aim to catalyse wider change across the funding ecosystem. If you want to see more of our impact and learning statement, you can access that link below. That will be shared with you after this session. Lovely. And back to you, Ruth.
Thanks, Natalie. Just one more slide from me, and then I'll be handing over to two of our lovely funding managers who will be telling you about the grant management process. So really what to expect from us from an impact and learning perspective. So as I've mentioned already, we really want to make learning beneficial for us all. And we want to only ask you for the insights and the information that are going to be useful for us and for you. So we spent a lot of time looking at the information that we gather from you, figuring out, you know, what wasn't actually that useful. And so we're making sure that you're using your time in the best possible way by giving us the data that really is going to be useful for all of us. So you can see that there's a diagram here that shows us the way that we use learning and data at Citybridge Foundation. So at the top, you can see that you give us feedback, and this could be from a number of different ways. We subscribe to Grant Advisor, which is like TripAdvisor, but for grants, where you can give us completely anonymous feedback, all about how you found the process of working with us. We do some learning visits every year. At the moment, we're only able, unfortunately, to do 30, but we do prioritise organisations to do learning visits with that may have not kind of had that experience or opportunity before. And really what the learning visit process is all about is giving funded organisations a little bit of space and time so that they can reflect on what's been going well, what they're learning about London, what their challenges are, and how we as an organisation could improve. We have a programme of case studies as well. We commission research, and we have annual face-to-face networking and learning days, which some of you may have accessed in March this year at the Barbican. We also ask you for feedback and data in your end of year reports and in end of grant reports. And we take all of that information, we learn from what you're telling us, we share it internally and externally, we pull out key themes, and we bring it all together to feed back into what we do so that we're continually getting better. I'm going to hand over now to Abby Summers and Hanan Ali, who are both funding managers, and they're going to talk to you a little bit about the grant making process and what to expect from that. So over to you.
Can we have the next slide, please? Perfect. Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Abby, and I'm a funding manager, and I'll be being joined by Hanan as well. And I might be your grant manager for your grant as well. So if so, nice to meet you online. So first of all, I want to tell you a bit about the grant management process. So at this point, you should have all received your grant offer by email. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. But next, sometimes it can take a bit of time to get the grant started. So when you receive the grant offer, one of the things you can do is check the details of the grant, check that that's kind of what you're expecting, and clarify any questions with your funding manager. And that's something that kind of happens as throughout the whole process. Any questions you have, you can get in touch with your funding manager and clarify any questions with us. Then you'll get an offer letter. So that will be via DocuSign, and you have the opportunity to sign that and return it via DocuSign. Sometimes that can have, instructions are sent for the DocuSign, because we know sometimes people find that a bit complicated, and our funding officer team are really helpful at making sure that that gets sorted. Then what happens is you have an opportunity to basically, on our grant portal where you submitted your application, both upload your bank details and fill in a payment request form. So the information that the payment request form will have is when you want your grant to start, and if there are any post holders or people that we're funding who work more than 17.5 hours a week, we usually ask for their name. So that's the kind of information that goes in the payment request form, which is done at the same time as the bank details. And we often get questions around the start date of the grant. So that is for you to choose when you would like the start date to be. So, we usually want that to be within 6 months of receiving your offer. If something comes up, again, you can speak to your funding manager, but you get flexibility to start that, as we know sometimes recruitment can take a bit of time for people, or just because you've got the grant doesn't mean everything's ready to go the next day. So there is some flexibility there. Then once the grant gets started, you can start the work. Obviously, sometimes the work might already be happening, but you can kind of get started. And then one of the things we ask for is a progress report annually. Although that happens annually, we do ask that you kind of inform us if changes are happening to the funded work or the outcomes as you go along. And Hanan's going to talk a bit more about that and kind of how you can communicate with us next. Oh,
great, thank you, Abby. I think that's the wrong slide.
Is there a slide afterwards? Or are the order is different to what we expected? Okay, yeah. Do you want to go first?
I can go first, and then we can go back to the end of your report. Right, fantastic. So, like Abby said, my name's Hanan. I'm a funding manager, and some of you may well be in my portfolio. If so, it's great to meet you today. So, we are a relational funder. The key thing that we operate is on, it's one of the key values that we operate on. So don't ever hesitate to pick up the phone, drop us an email, or try to schedule in a Teams call, or perhaps a video call if that's what you prefer. And like Abby said, if there's any key things that are taking place, like change of post holders, specifically the ones that we fund, senior post holders, if there's major changes in your board, if there's going to be a large underspend, or if there's if there's particular outcomes that you might want to change, and something is slightly more different, and you've been informed that through some of your work, and whatever, just keep. I think the best way to sort of put it is that whatever major things that you think are taking place, just keep us in the loop. It could be as simple as an email. All we do is log it onto your file, and we take a hands-off approach, but that doesn't mean we're not contactable. Usually you'll have our the phone number, email address, everything in the signature. So we're pretty much happy to speak to you at any time, and happy to sort of run, if you need someone to bounce an idea off, we're happy to be that person, and also think through some of the potential options that might be available to you. And then we can also signpost you to some other colleagues, and perhaps talk about some of the things that might be in our networks, and connect you up with some other organizations. So feel free to always reach out to us, and even if it comes to things like comms, if you don't ask, you won't know. So I guess sort of the point I'm sort of trying to hone through is that we really are there and available, and we aim to be led by the grantees in terms of the support that we provide. So if you want, if you think you're fine and you don't really want extra support, by all means just crack on. But if you do, contact us. Back to Abby.
Can we go back to the end of, here we go, so the reports. So as Hanan said, we really do aim to have communication throughout the year, but we do also have formal kind of reporting processes. So at the end of each year, we have a progress report available, and this again is filled out via the portal, and also on our website we have an example. If in advance you want to have a look, see what the report looks like, on our website we have kind of an example report with the questions, but it will be filled out via the portal, and we send out a link in advance. And then you just fill in the report. We've tried to be light touch on it, kind of focus on the achievements, the learning, and we do obviously have some questions about the finances that we need for our area, but the idea is that it can be learning for both of us, so that we can both reflect on the work and the impact that you've had throughout the year. Typically next year's funding is only released after the report is received and approved by your funding manager. But if you're ever in a situation where you have a concern about cash flow, then please do get in touch with your funding manager. And in certain situations with cash flow, for example, we can release the first payment of the second year to kind of help with that situation. But typically, it's just after the funding is released. But again, it's all about that relationship with your funding manager. You can speak to them directly if you're having challenges, and let them know that that's the situation. And we do try and be as flexible as possible with these things. And to Hanan again.
Great. And finally from us, just key links to be aware of. We take transparency really seriously, so we will put all of our information on our website. Like Abby alluded to, the monitoring report is all there for you to see. There's other key links like Funders Plus, how to claim your grant payment, and one of the links isn't on there, but Natalie will add it on, because I only just informed her this morning. But the continuation funding, so it's probably, for those of you that are getting towards the end of your current grant and are eligible for that, all of the information is on in the application form also. So hopefully most of your queries will be able to be answered from the website. But anything else, like I said, just get in touch. I think that's it from us.
Thank you, Abby and Hanan. Sorry, my screen keeps freezing, hence the slow slide changing. We are going to put you into breakout rooms briefly, just to give you a chance to have a conversation with each other. And the two questions we'd like you to talk about are, in terms of your funded work, what is one thing that you're excited for, and one challenge that you might be facing already, or that you anticipate that you might face? So Emma is going to very kindly put you in breakout rooms, and that will be for about 5 or 10 minutes. We won't be in there with you, it will just be among yourself. So if any of the CBF staff get put into one, please just leave. And then we will come back here before we go to the break. Thank you, Emma.
Great. Just making them now, so everyone should start popping off in a moment.
Is there anyone that needs to be in a breakout room that's not yet in a breakout room? If so, if you could kind of pop off mute and let us know.
I'm just assigning, there were 2 people who were unassigned, so I've put them, so hopefully everyone else will be in a group now.
Hi there, just to let you know that I've been trying to get in for the last 20 minutes or so, and I couldn't get in because it said it was at capacity. So you might have a few people who've been trying to get in.
Yeah, we're aware of that. Sorry, we didn't realise the limitations. So yeah, apologies, and we'll be getting in touch with everyone. No, thanks. Yeah, really stressful time. So yeah, sorry.
Right, cheers, thank you.
So do we need to?
Going to put a call out to the organisers. I'm Tom Litchie's interpreter, and I wasn't put in the same room as Tom Litchie. Can somebody add me to Tom Litchie's room?
I absolutely can. Yeah,
Thank you.
Sorry.
It's room 14.
Can you see, Natalie? Should we try both of us together to do this as quick as possible?
There you go. Dee, you should get the response.
Thank you, I've got that now.
Thanks, Dee. Mark Gilly, no, I think, is everyone gone then?
There's a couple who haven't joined.
Okay.
They've all been assigned, but I think some haven't joined.
Okay, if you have been assigned a room and you haven't yet joined, please can you join that breakout room? I think we've got Patch and Wright. Anyone else? Okay.
Everybody else.
Captioner's got their hand up and is asking, could you move me to room 14 as well, please?
What is their name?
They're under captioner, so I'm doing that now.
Thank you. They're in room 14.
Fantastic. Okay, is everyone in now that needs to be in?
I think so. So this will be part of the recording, but that's okay.
Should we pause recording and start again when we all come back together, or should we just?
So it says close in 55 seconds. My screen's frozen. There we go. We can see people are coming back. I hope you had a nice discussion in the breakout rooms. If anybody would like to share anything that they're excited about or any challenges they're facing, you can pop them in the chat. If not, we'll just wait for everybody to come back, and then I will send you off for a hot drink and a stretch. in case anybody's come in and missed that. If anybody wants to share what they were talking about in the group, anything they're excited about or any challenges they're facing, you can put it in the chat. We would love to know. I can see, lovely. It looks like everybody is back. Thank you for engaging in the breakout rooms. We are ahead of schedule, so we're going to go on our break now. The time is 10:38. If you can please be back at 10:55, we will be starting promptly. I'm just going to mute somebody. If you leave the chat, you do risk losing your space, as I think we have been capped at 100, so people trying to join might try as you leave. I don't know who's is. If you can just turn off your camera and put yourself on mute when you go on your break, you will keep your space. But yes, please go off, have a stretch, get a nice drink, and we will see you back here at 10:55 in the room. Hopefully you've had a nice drink and a stretch and you're ready to hear about the amazing non-funding support that we offer. So I'm going to pass straight over to James and Ian. James Lee is our Bridge Programme and Total Assets Lead, and Ian Toklove is our Communications Officer. Sorry, straight over to you, James.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Thanks for bearing with us this morning. I just wanted to reiterate that the session is being recorded. So for those of you who have colleagues who maybe couldn't join us, don't worry, we will be making sure that nobody misses out on what we've been talking about today. But I'm here to talk to you today about our non-funding support. I've got 4 slides to talk you through. I promise I will keep this brief and relatively painless. Hopefully, this will be interesting even. So what is the Bridge Programme? What is our non-funding support? I won't speak to the slides. You'll be able to read them for yourselves, and I think we are going to distribute them afterwards. And don't worry, any links within the slides will also be sent around after. So our non-funding support comes from a recognition that whilst the funding that we can offer to you is important and will always remain important, we can do more as a funder than just giving money. We recognize that writing you a check and saying, here's some money, go away and get on with it, isn't really the sort of relationship that we want to have with you. We want to be able to support you through financial means as well as non-financial means. And that's what we mean when we refer to something called Funder Plus. Those of you who may have grants from other organizations may have accessed other Funder Plus offers of support before. Those of you who haven't done this before, don't worry about it. I'm going to try and talk you through some of what we offer today. So what do we offer right now through Funder Plus? Essentially, it's a range of free non-financial support that helps you to address a specific identified need within your organization. Could we flip to the next slide, please? Typically, when people apply for our non-funder support, we will take you through a bit of a diagnostic process. Somebody from what we refer to as a connector organization, which is a third-party outside organization that we work with that holds expertise in things like organizational development, will work with you, will have a conversation with you to really understand your organization. We know that one size fits all doesn't really fit anybody, and we know that the needs and the needs of every organization can differ. So we'll run you through a bit of a diagnostic process where we'll talk about some of the things within your organization that you might want to strengthen or that you might want to grow into. We do also offer some group learning sessions, and we will also signpost and refer to support where appropriate. Typically, the bulk of our non-funding support comes in one-to-one support. So once you've been through a bit of a diagnostic process with our connector organizations, we're quite happy to pay for one-to-one support, and that can come in the form of training or consultancy for your organization to help you work in an identified area. Could we move to the next slide, please? So this slide just has a couple of examples of how organizations were helped in the last year, and you can see it's a real wide range of topics. We are really open-minded about the types of support that we want to offer. We're trying not to be overly prescriptive. So if there is a form of support that you're seeking, please come and tell us. You know, we are all ears. We're always listening. We are always learning around how we can best support you outside of your grant. Can we move to the next slide, please? So how do you apply? So you can apply on Google Forms. It takes less than 10 minutes to complete. I think I've spent longer trying to set up a Deliveroo account than I have doing through this form. It's really painless. We know that you've already been through a sort of an application form just to become a grantee with us. So we wanted to try and make sure this was painless. You're also very welcome to come and speak to me about the support that we have on offer. We'll put contact details in the chat, and we'll also circulate them after this meeting. It helps if you have an idea of the kind of support that you want to have in mind, and we can build from that. And all we ask really is that you commit to the support that's been provided. That's our Funder Plus in a nutshell, really. I think that's me, and I'm happy to take questions afterwards.
Thank you so much, James. And over to Ian, please.
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm Ian. Ian Tote-Club. I'm a communications officer with City Bridge Foundation, one of a small but growing team. So, I mean, things we've been doing recently, some of you will know this, we've obviously rebranded. We're now City Bridge Foundation. We were City Bridge Trust. City Bridge Foundation, new logo, lovely new website, which we put a lot of work into. And the ways that we can hopefully help you as newly funded organizations is sharing your messaging and helping you get your messaging out there about the work you're doing, the great work you're doing. One way we can do that is possibly through press releases. So if you're doing a press release and you need a quote from us, or you need us to comment on it, do get in touch. My colleague Tim Fletcher, and you'll see his details there, he would be the chap to help you with press releases. And again, we can help you get traction there and help you get coverage. I work more on the social media side, and City Bridge Foundation, currently we're just on Twitter and LinkedIn. We probably will expand that. But again, if you tag us in, you know, we will always try and like anything you're posting, and we will, you know, we will share if we can. We won't share everything, but we will share if we can. And again, the press releases and the social media, this is all kind of about telling about the stories of what you do, the great work you do. And again, we want to hear that if we can. So do let us know. And that could be through the medium of press release or social media, or you can get in touch with us directly, because we can maybe amplify your stories and the work you do. And obviously images and videos especially are really useful to us. So again, we're always interested in getting that kind of content, and sharing and supporting the work you do if we can. One other thing that we do, and some of you would have seen this already, is we put out a monthly email bulletin that goes out to our funded organisations. That offers information about new grants, and it also offers free support and training opportunities. We don't put out anything that people have to pay for, so it all needs to be free. But if your organisation is working on something that might be of interest to other funded organisations, so that might be something like training, or maybe other opportunities that are available across London, or even if you've heard of new funding that maybe people need to get the word out, let me know, and if I can, I'll put it in the email bulletin and we can share it with everybody else. So that's kind of my job in a nutshell. As I said, our team is getting bigger. There's 3 of us now. There's going to be 4, so we can do more to help you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. And if anybody has any questions for James or Ian, please put them in the Menti box. If you go on to Menti now, there will be the question and answer slide. So Emma will be our question host and let us know. So if you have been sitting on a question, please post it now. If you can do it on Menti, then we'll be able to see them as they come through. And we will be checking the chat as well, just in case. Give a few minutes for people to put in any questions. This could be for the Impact and Learning team, for Abby or Hanan, the funding managers, for James Lee, for Ian. Any questions that you have. And Emma, whenever you think we are ready. Okay, should we start with how do we sign up to the newsletter, Ian?
Okay, the newsletter is a special newsletter which only goes out to 1 or 2 named contacts at a funded organisation. So I'm afraid it isn't something that everybody can sign up to. So currently it goes to, I think, the primary contact that we have on our database. And I'll be honest, we are still working on that because we've just moved over to a new funding database called Salesforce. So extracting the data and getting it into the newsletter and sending it to the right people is sometimes a bit of a challenge, but we are getting there. So basically, I think if you need to sign up to it, let me know if you're not getting it, and the next one will be going out within a day or 2. So if you don't get it, get in touch and we'll see if we can get you on the list.
Thank you, Ian. Let me start from the top. Reporting requirements, I think we did touch on this with the end of year and end of grant reports. You will be sent notifications about these as when they are due. Developing income streams.
Should I field this one, Natalie? This feels
yes,
a bit like a bridge question. So yeah, this is something that we've been able to support people with through our Funder Plus offer. We know that you don't want to be overly reliant on one income stream. So we've been able to support lots of different organizations in the past with developing their different income streams, business planning. Really happy to try and get that support for you if you apply through the Bridge program.
Thank you. Is our grant manager the same person who did our assessment? Could one of the funding managers answer this?
I'm happy to answer this. So on the whole, the grant manager is the same person who did the assessment, but in certain cases, because of the kind of sheer number of applications that we get, we have freelance assessors who will do an assessment, but they won't kind of then manage a portfolio of grants. So in that case, and usually only in that case, then you'll kind of get assigned to a grant manager who is kind of a set member of the team and doesn't do the freelance assessments. Their name will be in your offer letter, and also occasionally, because kind of different people or maybe assess different numbers of grants, what we'll do is we'll have a look at the number of grants each person is managing, and we might have to do like a slight reshuffle if someone has, you know, loads of grants and they don't have capacity to manage all of them. So on the whole, if you are working directly with a funding manager through the assessment, then they will be your grants manager. But what happens if you were kind of assigned to someone else through portfolio reshuffle, then we would get in touch and explain this. And where you've kind of got a freelance assessor, again, it says in the offer letter, and hopefully your new funding manager will get in touch with you directly. But if they don't, you know, their email is in that letter, and you feel free to kind of email them directly yourself and just say hello.
Thank you, Abby. That one. James, would you like to speak to this one?
Yeah. So, confused because you thought you had to select a particular type of Funder Plus support and apply to that. Okay, so we have been evolving our Funder Plus offer over the last year. So apologies for any confusion. You don't have to select a particular type of support. What you will, the process is that you will apply to us to access our support more broadly, and then we'll be able to provide you with that diagnostic, and then we'll suggest to you a particular type of support. But we'll work with you to try and establish what is the best thing that we can offer to you. Essentially, it all starts with a conversation with us just to understand the needs and what you want out of Funder Plus support. So please do just get in touch after the session, and we can spend a bit longer talking through some of that, and hopefully we'll have some clarity at the end of that.
Thank you, James. If our project is successful over these 3 years, is there a view for more funding after? Funding managers?
Yeah, I'm happy to come in again. So yeah, at the moment we can offer up to 5 years funding. So if you have had a project for 3 years, then you can potentially have continuation funding for an additional 2 years. One thing, I guess there are some caveats to that, in the sense that, you know, our kind of guidelines could change, our criteria of what we fund could change. So assuming that, you know, your project still falls within our funding criteria, that has been successful, and yeah, I think that's the main criteria, and that, you know, you're still in a financially stable place, that kind of stuff that we would do at normal assessment. So we do have a continuation application process, and again, that's something I would encourage you to get in touch with your funding manager about, but there's also some information and links to this on our website. And yeah, we're aware that we are trying to offer more kind of long-term funding, so you can have up to 5 years. Where you can have more than 5 years only if you're an infrastructure organisation, because we really try to support kind of capacity building throughout the capital. But on the whole, it's 5 years, and then there is a kind of fallow period, a bit of time off when you can't receive funding. But that's just our current policy.
Thank you, Abby. Can we promote our activities, plan networking in London in the newsletter or bulletin? Ian?
Activities and plan, probably not, but if there were networking opportunities that would be relevant to, you know, a degree of our funded organisations, yeah, then potentially. But what I would say is get in touch. And we'll help if we can. If it's not suitable for the bulletin, it's possibly something we could promote on social media.
Thank you. How can we get a copy of your logo and use it? Ian, back to you.
Okay, perfect question. On that last slide, there was a link, and these will be shared with you, so you can click on the link. It's available on our website, and I think if you just go to our website and search for logo and brand, or just logo, you should find it really easily. I'll put a link into the chat as well. So yeah, it's there, downloadable in all sorts of formats. And again, if you need any help using it or in a different format, get in touch.
Thank you. What is the best way to get in touch with the comms team, and at what stage of planning? Sorry, I can't see because of the external comms. Ian, back to you.
Okay, right, I'd love to say we have one generic email address. We don't yet, but we will do. So again, I'd say if you want to get in touch with us, by all means, get in touch with me. And if it's not something I can help with, I'll pass it to a colleague. As regards to what stage of planning external comms, we don't really have the capacity to come in and, you know, train or guide an organisation that's in the early stages of getting a comms person in. I think it's once you've got an idea of what you want to do, and actually sort of producing content, then we are in a position to share it. But right now, again, we don't have the capacity within the team to come in and advise in the early stages of communications. But again, as I said earlier, reach out if you are stuck, and we will, we'll help if we can, even if it's just on a one-to-one personal level.
Thank you. Would you like to visit us/the activities? Ruth, are you there? Do you want to talk about learning visits?
I am. We would love to visit you. Your funding manager is the person to speak to about that. We do have a programme of learning visits, and at the moment we're limited in the number that we can do per year, and we do prioritise those organisations that may not have had that support previously. So unfortunately, at the moment, we can't guarantee that we can do a learning visit with you. However, it may be that your grant manager, your funding manager will be able to either have a visit with you or have a conversation with you in a bit more depth. It may be that they don't have the capacity for that right now as well, but please always ask. We're really interested in kind of getting to know you and visiting your activities if at all possible, and we'll be trying to do that more and more as we go on. Hanan.
Oh yeah, I was going to come in. You go, Hanan.
Just to add that if there are any events and stuff taking place within your organization, like end of year celebrations or anniversaries, that sort of stuff, or even days of delivery of particular projects or you're coming to an end of a project, do send them to your funding manager, because if your funding manager can't make it, they'll circulate it around to the rest of the funding managers, and if someone can and there is capacity at that given time, someone will be sure to try and attend. Abby.
I was just going to say exactly the same, and just that, yeah, we do get invited to lots of things, and obviously we have quite large portfolios, so we can't always attend. And if it's something that's not specifically related to the project, it might be less likely that we're able to attend. But we like to get to know you and the project, so invite us. If we can't make it, we'll let you know, but there's no harm in an invite. But equally, if you're at capacity and you've got a busy event, you don't have to worry about inviting us as well. It's really about you have the freedom to kind of steer that relationship.
Thank you, everyone. Next question: could the Bridge programme support management training development for less experienced staff? James.
A very quick answer: yes. We've done lots of this in the past through Bridge. So yeah, please, I'll put a link in the chat, and it will also be sent around afterwards with a form to apply and contact details.
Amazing, thank you. A few more questions. Could you give an example of a successful Funder Plus case study? We would be interested in accessing external support to develop our CRM system to improve data collection.
This is a really interesting one. I was talking about a CRM system with someone just the other day. And that's still in progress, so I don't know if it counts as a case study as yet, so sorry about that. I can give you successful examples of other work that's been done. We've completed lots of work around governance, around financial management, around business development and so forth. If you want to access external support to develop your CRM system, I think rather than throwing you a case study that's unrelated, what I'd say is, again, sorry if this feels a bit generic, but please get in touch with me. We can have a chat about some of the work that we've done in this space. We'll try to understand some of the needs that are driving this desire to develop your CRM system. You talk about data collection there, and we can hopefully secure you some support. It's something that we have done through Bridge before, and it's something that we'll continue to offer. So yeah, please do get in touch.
Thank you. Next question. Is there a time limit between finishing a grant and when you can potentially apply again? I saw that this question was also posted in the chat, and I know Abby and Hanan have answered it. Do you want to quickly speak on this now as well?
Yeah, happy to come in again. So Again, it depends. We've mentioned continuation funding. So with continuation funding, where you've had funding less than 5 years and you still fit within the grants criteria, there is not a time limit. You would apply before the end of your grant. For where your grant comes to an end and you don't access continuation funding, and this is kind of whatever length of grant you have, there is currently a fallow period or a time limit of 1 year for a different project or 2 years for the same project and outcomes. If you're unsure about whether the project is kind of sufficiently different to meet the 1 year criteria, then you can get in touch. And as I mentioned earlier, the only kind of one of the areas this doesn't apply is for infrastructure funding for infrastructure organizations, but otherwise it is after 5 years or after a smaller grant that finishes without continuation funding, it is either 1 or 2 years.
Thank you. How does your fund reporting align with the Propel funding partnership? Does anybody?
So I think I don't know much about the Propel partnership myself because it's a couple of other colleagues that are working on that program, but I think it's slightly different if I'm not wrong.
Do you want me to pick this up?
Yes, please, James, if you know a bit more about it.
Yeah, so Propel is a funding partnership that we've got in place with a number of other funders. It is a separate funding stream to Bridging Divides, which is the funding stream that I think you're all here for today. If you hold a grant under both Propel and Bridging Divides, the reporting unfortunately does not necessarily align as they are separate funding streams. If you are interested in finding out more about Propel, which I believe is going to have another round of funding, you can, no, that may be incorrect. Sorry, I retract that. I'm not entirely sure if there will be another. But if you'd like to know more about the work of Propel, you can get in touch with the team. We'll be very happy to signpost you, but the reporting doesn't align in terms of timescales with each other.
Thank you, James. Next. There are some benefits to Onward grants. Any possibility CPF is considering this and changing your policy?
I'm slightly confused by this question. Does it mean kind of continuing beyond 5 years, or I don't know if who asked it is able to, unless Hanan, you were.
So I ask it. Can I speak?
Yeah, of course.
Yes, it's some funders do provide funding to to an organization who can then pass it on as small grants. A bit similar to what local giving scheme may do. That's sort of, and this may also apply to infrastructure organization. So I suppose is whether that's that's not normally allowed within your current policies, whether you could.
Yeah, for onwards grant making. Okay, thank you, Jeffrey. So I don't know if this is a specific thing that we are considering at the moment. We are currently having an end-to-end review of our processes, and some of you might have received an email about this asking for feedback. But we are looking at kind of our processes from start to end and whether they kind of work well for the sector and that kind of thing. So that might be something we're considering under that. At the moment with Onward grant making, we are definitely not able to fund kind of direct cash payments to service users, as you've mentioned, but we can sometimes fund things as in terms of project costs like vouchers, but unfortunately not direct cash payments. I don't know if this is something that we are considering, but I'm happy to raise your point with our end-to-end review team. Thanks, Jeffrey.
Yeah, and just to add on to that is that we do have well, we do strategic initiatives, and that's sort of onward grant making, but those are only with particular funders, and that's a completely separate strand to Bridging Divide. So under this, I don't think there's lots of complexities around legalities and that sort of thing. So but when we're working with other funders as a strategic initiative, that is something that we tend to publicize on. I think we've done a couple of blogs around it, and I think there's something on our website about strategic initiatives as well. But under this strand, like Abby said, we're currently reviewing everything, but we don't not at the moment.
Thank you both. And last question that we have on here, would accessing wider additional support from you count against you when seeking more funding or be a positive? I think this is a great question.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I'm wondering whether I'll give you the long or the short answer here in the potted history. So when we started our Funder Plus program, we had this idea around what we've termed as clear blue water. So keeping a distance between the funding support, the non-financial support we're providing, and ourselves as the provider of that support and the grantee. Essentially, it's that whole thing of, if I come to you to say, hey, I would like some support with my governance because I think it could be improved, would organizations be concerned about that counting against them in the future? It's a question that lots of people might ask. What we found over time is that because we want to have a really relational approach to the funding that we offer, we want to be able to have a level of trust between us as partners. Over time, that desire for clear blue water between us, the grantee, and the support being provided kind of fell away. We absolutely would not count that against you when seeking more funding. If anything, I think it shows a level of awareness, a level of desire to be more sustainable, wanting to grow, wanting to be a more resilient organization that is really positive. I know that it's easy for me to say this as the funder, and it's difficult sometimes to trust that, but I hope that over the time that you spend with us as partners, in the relationship that you'll build with your funding manager, you'll come to realize that we absolutely would never hold accessing this kind of support against you. We think it's a real positive. So yeah.
You're muted, Natalie.
Thank you. I think that's all of the questions that we have on the Q&A section, and I think all the questions in the chat have been answered as well. If you do have any other questions, as we've tried to reiterate a lot during this session, please just reach out to your funding managers. They will be very happy to help you. Before you go, there are just a couple of quick Menti questions to finish off. So if you can get your screens back up or your phones back out, is there anything else that you would like support with that we haven't mentioned yet? These responses are hidden, so feel free to be honest. And if there's anything that we haven't touched on that you think would be really important, please let us know. Can see that there are a few people responding to these. This is feedback that we will take back to the team and see if there are possibilities that we are able to support you in these areas. So please let us know if there is anything that you need from us. A few more seconds on this one. Again, I'm going to move to the next slide, but you, on your phone or laptop, you should still be able to stay until you are ready to move on. The next slide is now, how knowledgeable do you feel about how we will work with you, our expectations around managing your grant, and what we offer in non-funding support? If you can do what you did at the beginning and just slide along from not at all knowledgeable to extremely knowledgeable, I can see that all of these have improved, which is great. And in a moment, I will be asking for further feedback. So yeah, if you have any comments on any of these, please save it for the next slide. It's great to see that these have really slid along to much stronger scores. Fantastic. And finally, we want to continually improve these sessions. So if you have any feedback for this session today, please put your responses here. Again, they are hidden, so you can be as honest as you like. We will, of course, be taking on board the Zoom cap on attendees. That won't happen again. And yes, so we're really sorry again for any inconvenience that caused today. We will be sending the recording and the slides as soon as possible. So all of you who have attended and all of those who weren't able to enter the room will receive those as well. Lovely. So I'd just like to say a massive thank you to everybody for taking the time to attend this welcome session today. We hope that it's been really useful and helpful, and that you feel more confident with reaching out to your funding manager or any of us at City Bridge Foundation, and we will help you as much as we can. I don't know, Ruth, if you want to say anything. No? Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and thank you for your engagement in this session.